Greetings from the farm. It's so good to have you back with us again here on the Mondo Farms channel. My name is Chisha Folatia. It's time for another update on our return to vegetable farming here at Westgate Winterthorn Farm on the outskirts of Chongwe. In our previous video, part 1, you remember you saw us deciding and debating which crops we were going to plant and where and when. You saw us preparing the ground with the big tractors going woo, and it did the disking of our sun hemp that we had grown in here as a cover crop during the rainy season. So we decided to grow 3 different crops here at Westgate 1 during the winter of 2025. The first one is going to be this eggplant crop that we've got on these 2 blocks here on 1B. And then on the upper part of 1B, we've already drawn some lines there for the initial bed preps of the cucumber that will be starting with some long cucumber, going up there a little bit later, a month later, for a succession of some more long cucumber, and then down on the other side of 1C, we will be putting down another crop of green pepper. On this video, we're going to be taking you through a very quick look back at how we actually did all of the ground preparations for what we are doing here for the first crop, and then we are going to be taking you to how we transplant beautiful seedlings in here to establish something that looks like this. Stay with us. So let's start by having a look at what we've actually achieved here and what we've got. So we divided this area into 2 blocks, and we were able to do 18 beds going this way, and each one is 20 meters long. Over there, there's a little bit of a rectangular area where the land kind of narrowed and we couldn't be able to achieve things properly. Now, back in the day when we were beginner farmers, I would have gone in there and done some sort of MacGyver and whatever, but these days, having had quite a little bit more experience, we decided to make our beds as uniform as possible. A number of advantages to that, one of which is our drips. Once we cut them to 20, we tend to keep them to 20 wherever we go. And also our spraying and our working and crop husbandry also happens to be easier to do when it's one uniform and regular spacing as it is. So we're going to leave that space. Maybe at some point we might plant some sort of trees or establish something else over there. But for now, on our vegetable crops, we'll get a decent amount of yield from what we've achieved here. So each of our beds is supposed to be 50 centimeters, but I gotta tell you, this is farming in the real world, and some of them are 55, some are 60, there may be even a 70 in there. So we've got these beds that are X wide, and then we've got 2 rows of crops, as you'll see even later, and you can see now, and then we choose to use 2 drip lines. Should I talk about our Submania 40 millimeter that is supplying off from the water source that's coming in from the reservoir? We've got our little drip valves here, and we start having our little plants. So our plants are planted at 50 centimeters interval in a diagonal. So the first one is 25 centimeters, then we start with a 50, then another 50, another 50. And the advantage that this gives us is when this crop grows, it then has space to grow and express itself here, whereas this one is over here, this one is over here, that one is over here, and so on and so forth. We use the same spacing for most of our fruiting vegetable crops. That's our cucumbers, our eggplants, our peppers, colored peppers, etc. And this is what has worked out for us over the years. Here on the Mondo Farms channel, When we publish our videos, we leave the comments open. And that is an opportunity for people watching them to ask us questions and add in their comments here and there. So we get different questions which basically indicate to us what things people saw and maybe appreciated or need a little bit of more clarity from in our videos. So we've done several videos over the last couple of years where we've talked about how we make our beds and we've shown the practice in detail. But I'm going to go through it a little bit more because of a particular question we got from one of our viewers a couple of weeks ago where they were asking me, why do you grow your crops on raised beds? Let's first of all look at what we have here to understand the concept of a raised bed. So let's start with the floor here. This is the ground and this is our bed. And as you can see, our bed is raised by, this is about 15 centimeters or so. And then we have this beautiful tabletop where we can actually grow and establish our crop. The reason we use our raised beds is because it allows the roots to go down and to not get waterlogged. The roots are the most important area of our plants, and we really want them to be as healthy as possible. Also, it allows for all sorts of other positive things. I remember actually Googling this and getting the reasons why we use raised beds, which I may have answered that particular viewer. The beds making process is really, really important. And we take a little bit of time and put quite a lot of effort into ensuring that our crops, as we establish them, have got a wonderful place to grow. One of the most important things that they must find when they come in, when we transplant our crops in here, is that they must find food, chakudya. And in order to achieve that, we create what's called a fertility trench, which is located underneath the bed, and in there we fill it with compost.
So my grasses yon seti ai kipinga pa bati moz paja. Then my stones na eve. Tiafaka pa staki moz na eve. Yani sasa sensa kushita ishu ya mulching then vambi vantinga sense luku. Kuri ya ma stone then eve. That sensa ishu ya check dam. Then my grasses ishu ya mulching. So tipano pa Westgate 1 block B. So ndipanda shita continue kushita irrigation pa ground so that pantinya mwa macontriges pans pankali pa moisture then macontriges yakazi imilia bunobin. So tipano pa compost house. Pantachusa compost ya room 1 yani kinga ndesenze ku Westgate sapati moving apati fakapaza so that pankare easy loading mu dutro pantipeleka ku Westgate.
So this is some of the leftover compost that we were using as we were creating the beds. And we've shown a lot of our compost making before and everything. And compost is a rich, nutritious, organic material full of soil and little bits and pieces of plants, little bits of soil and stones as well here. But this is what we put down in there. Some chicken manure is used in the making of compost, as you may remember from some of our other videos, and it's cooked over a long time. We use a system called hot compost, and we create this stuff that really helps us. Speaking of chicken manure, does this look like chicken manure here? Hey, this one didn't cook exactly the bueno. Mr. Folotia is handling chicken manure. Mwebantu, amefama, emotulila. And these are some fertility trenches that we've established here on this block, as I said, where we'll be coming in to put down some cucumber. So this is the first digging of how they're done, and we should be putting them down 1.5 meter spacing, as we always say, and we'll be filling these with compost. And then, as you see on this video, we come back in to raise the beds, as we call it, and create the tabletop. The last thing we actually do as part of our bed preps is to put down the irrigation system. Water comes in from the source. We have the mains, we have the sub-mains, we have the drip laterals and all of that. So once the beds are ready, we need to get into the transplant process. It is time to bring in our seedlings. Where do we get our seedlings? In this particular case, we got our seedlings from a nursery that we had established a few weeks before at Kimberley Farm down at Tapiwa. Sometimes for different crops, we actually bring in seedlings from professional seed growers. But for eggplant, we are comfortable enough to grow our own seedlings.
So we're here inside the Tapiwa nursery shed house where we have our eggplant crop that was sown on the 1st of February, and today being the 5th, it's exactly about 9 weeks old and ready for transplant. Looking at the growth in the leaves, this is very, very much ready for transplant. And this crop is going to Winterthorn, Westgate. So what we're doing now is we're getting our seedlings and transporting them to Winterthorn. So the team is first starting with the selection of healthy, vigorous seedlings, like the ones that have been put in this crate with proper vigorous roots and also some soil to them that we're going to transplant at Winterthorn. So they're being placed carefully into the crates so that we don't affect the roots. So the most important part is the root zone, so that they can establish easily. So right now we're looking at grading the biggest, healthiest seedlings, then we're leaving the small ones, giving them time to grow. So now we have all the seedlings on the truck, and now we're placing up the tent on top to protect the leaves.
So tripano pa Westgate 1. Sapanda po trenching line. Sisa Venturi. So in chemical ni sucking mu suction pipe. And mpaka so mpaka enda kuma beds kuja. So in the we need drenching. So team na hivi abura kubosta off-road ma seedlings. Very fresh, yeah.
So we now arrive here at Westgate 1 with the seedlings that the team immediately starts laying into the ground and transplanting. So looking at the seedlings, they still look very healthy and the roots very good. And there hasn't been much shock that has happened. So looking at the time now being 16:40, this is the right time to do the transplanting because the temperatures are now low. So we're not going to get as much transplant shock as we would have if the temperatures were still high. So as usual with our order of transplanting, we have a team that's picking up the seedlings from the crates, from these vegetable crates, and they're dropping them on top of the bed, just like we have here. They're laying them up on top. Then there's another team coming behind and placing them in the holes that have been drilled, like we see here, and transplanting. Hence we're seeing them standing up right here. So as we can see, the two teams, there's the guys dropping them off, and there's two guys and the ladies coming on, laying them in the ground. Then we have another team that's pegging, doing the hose. So everything is in order and accordingly. So as we continue the transplanting, another comment is on the layout of our beds, which are running north-south as compared to before when we had the last crop here, which was the onion crop back in 2023, where we had beds running from east-west, the onion beds. So then we had a challenge with where the terrain of the land is. It's sloping down to the west, and the eastern side is the upper side. So water distribution, there was good growth on the western side compared to the eastern side. So this time we've changed the format. They're running north-south, and the main lateral line is coming through from our reservoir and passing on into the sub-lateral lines. So this will really help with the equal distribution of water and even growth of our crops compared to how we had it before. So we can see even on the bed on how well the moistened the beds are after we did our irrigation before we began the transplanting. So this is very important in understanding your landscape, the way your land is, and also avoid uneven growth, which also highly affects the yield. But with this type, we're looking very good, and also our bypass system has changed. We're having the elbow system. This also gets to reduce highly on the amount of poly fittings that you get to use. So now we're looking at the first block as we continue transplanting and how it's looking like after transplanting. So the first one, we're done, and we're on to the second one. Also looking at the progress of the team, we should be finishing in the next 10 minutes or so. So it's getting dark now. We are losing the sun, but we have finished transplanting the 2 blocks of eggplant at Westgate 1 here at Winterthorn after 2 years of establishing vegetable crops here. So we have some seedlings left in the crate that we're going to use for gapping. After 2 days, we start scouting and seeing if there's any seedlings, if we have any seedlings that have been affected by transplant shock due to the harsh weather condition now that they've been introduced to. So we'll keep those moist and safe. Then if we have any problem due to transplant shock or damping off, then we can replace and maintain the plant population that we have here.
So trip on pa Westgate 1 block B. Pantashita continue kuta scouting kona crop ya tumanikulia before pantashita transplant. So after pantashita transplant tambona mama mortalities man tati utopina ngutu ambanga tukufa but still kanga kana life then tikangana size yaka then na size yanipo by difference maningi. So kwa maka ina twist seed tina ma seedlings. So at least hapa so hapa tubati pitemo lero tubati tigapingemo yesterday na pitemo because yambili leo nikayauka isiana na yesterday sababu tuseme tuntu ndo ngota auto vitu bempamo maningi ndio ndicho seratu manzi kozina ngweze ngoti ikan. So trip on pa Westgate 1 block B so tigapinga muri eggplant yani ina fainangu. So ndi manesa riziana sarapo so ndanti pitama foto gapinga muri ane siana shite buno pantina shita transplant.
So here are some of our beautiful eggplant seedlings that we've finished transplanting. It has been quite a process, but something that we've done several times, and we've got a good hope for the crop here. This plant, as it is now working hard to establish its roots in its new home. We're feeding it with phosphorus, which is good for root establishment. And then the next phase, it will enter its vegetative stage. And then you'll start seeing some leaves coming. There's already one beautiful new leaf that's coming up here. You're going to see the stem thicken and the plant becomes a lot taller and a lot bigger. And then it enters the fruiting stage, the flowering and fruiting stage. We even change how we feed it and how we look after it. And then finally, we'll start to make some money. Here on the Mondo Farms channel, we take you along with us on our farming journey. We do videos reasonably regularly, and they are focused on how we farm here in South Central Africa. We may not have a lot of the modern, Western farming methods and other things like that, but this is how we do it, and we hope that videos like this are of some help to farmers who are in similar positions in Africa and other various parts of the world. If you want to keep watching these videos, then the easiest thing that you can do is to press the subscribe button. And if you press the bell icon, then YouTube will let you know when the YouTube new video comes along. If this is a video that you think other people would benefit from seeing, then press the share button and send it to them on your socials. And if you really think this video is one that is worthy of your stamp of approval, then do that. Press the thumbs up button, which lets the YouTube algorithm know that this is something that people like, and it will keep suggesting it to other people who have got a similar interest. And if you've got any more questions or comments about how we did our establishment of this crop here at Westgate 1 at Winterthorn, then put that in the comments below. I'll see you soon on the Mondo Farms channel. Shale nipo. Bye-bye.